The movie is about a tennis player, Art, and his beloved wife, Tassi. Art is an incredibly skilled tennis player who has recently made a successful return to tennis after overcoming a challenging injury. His comeback is the subject of much discussion on all the news channels, which has left him feeling a bit nervous. But his wife, Tassi, who acts as his coach too, provides unwavering support throughout this journey. Art decides to engage in a friendly competition with his friend Patrick. They eagerly embark on a game filled with excitement and anticipation. However, as fate would have it, Art finds himself on the losing end of the game despite his best efforts. He can't win the game. It's a disappointing outcome for Art, but he remains determined to improve and seek redemption in future challenges. Tassi becomes infuriated as she watches this, and she sternly informs him that he's not playing the game correctly. She inquires about his aspirations in tennis, to which Art affirms his continued desire. Tassi makes the decision to have Art participate in a competition at a smaller level, with the intention of helping him rebuild his confidence. Meanwhile, in this lower-tier competition, Patrick is facing difficulties. With limited funds to spare, he finds himself unable to afford a room at the hotel, resulting in him spending his nights sleeping in his car. As the morning of the competition arrives, a sudden realization dawns upon him. Today is the day when the participants will be rewarded with their prize money, regardless of the outcome of the tournament. Meanwhile, Patrick starts contemplating the idea of intentionally losing his first match and walking away with $400. Upon discovering Art's presence in the competition, our protagonist swiftly dominates every match, propelling himself directly into the final. Now he finds himself in a fierce competition with Art. Art is feeling burdened by Patrick's presence and is frustrated by the fact that they have a history together. Art and Patrick were inseparable throughout their childhood, spending countless hours on the tennis court. Their shared passion for the sport creates a bond that cannot be broken. They have a strong bond of friendship, but their lives take an unexpected turn when they attend a thrilling tennis match. Little do they know their hearts will soon be captivated by the talented player on the court. As the game unfolds, all eyes remain fixed on Tassi. Tassi stands out as the top performer among the girls. She emerges victorious in the game, and later Art and Patrick attend a lively Adidas party. The spotlight is on Tassi. Art and Patrick approach her to have a conversation. Interestingly enough, they will be attending the same college as Art. As Tassi's father beckons her, Art and Patrick take a seat. They eagerly anticipate Tassi's return, patiently biding their time. Upon her arrival, they embark on a collective journey to the beach. Patrick inquires of Tassi the reason behind her desire to attend a college lacking players of her caliber. Tassi expresses her desire to balance her studies with her passion for playing. Meanwhile, Patrick's sole focus lies in tennis. As Tassi prepares to depart, both Art and Patrick eagerly request her contact information. Patrick extends an invitation for her to join him in his hotel room. Seated in the hotel room, they engage in conversation, pondering the arrival of Tassi. At that very moment, a knock resonates through the air, interrupting their solitude. The door swings open, revealing the unexpected visitor, Tassi. As they settle into their seats, a conversation begins to unfold between the trio. Patrick and Tassi start reminiscing about their childhood, exchanging tales and memories. As Tassi extends an invitation, they gracefully accept and settle onto the bed. Tassi decides to stir things up by proposing a challenge to both of them. However, she adds a twist by setting a condition. The winner of tomorrow's game will earn the privilege of obtaining her number. The match takes place the following day, with Patrick emerging as the victor. Art strongly dislikes this. The following day, with a chuckle, Patrick inquires of Art if they have spent the night together. Patrick remains tight-lipped, withholding any information. Art insists that it should be done. The game Patrick is playing continues. It is truly heart-wrenching to witness his defeat in the opening round. Once upon a time, there was a tale that Patrick, in the weeks gone by, had a habit of spending his evenings with a charming lady after his tournament matches. And now, dear reader, is the moment where he unveils his true intentions to her. Patrick makes his way to Tassi. Tassi's displeasure is evident upon seeing him in this place. She sternly warns him to keep his distance from her family. Let's take a trip down memory lane 12 years ago. At this point, Art and Tassi encounter him and decide to join him for lunch. Surprisingly, she remains by Patrick's side despite his lack of affection towards her. This revelation incites Tassi's anger, leading her to express her disappointment in him as a friend. Not long after, a couple days later, Patrick arrives to meet them at their college. His knowledge of Art is lacking. Art inquires of Patrick's romantic entanglements, specifically if he is involved with any other young man. According to Patrick, he vehemently denies any romantic interest and claims to have positive feelings towards Tassi. So Art begins to ignite the flames of doubt, questioning Tassi's commitment to their relationship. However, Patrick reveals his approach. According to him, Art has a hidden agenda of wanting him to make a mistake, all in an attempt to have Tassi. After this, Patrick heads over to meet Tassi. Once upon a time, their paths crossed. Tassi begins discussing Patrick's tennis skills, much to Patrick's displeasure. He insists on avoiding any discussion about tennis. Tassi finds this thing incredibly frustrating. She rises from her seat, boldly declaring herself as his girlfriend. With conviction, she questions who else will engage in a conversation about tennis if not her. Patrick advises her against taking on the role of his coach. A heated dispute ensues between the two. Patrick claims that he is not Art, someone who will unquestioningly listen to and follow her every command. With a surge of frustration, Patrick storms off. He refuses to attend Tassi's game. Here, Art sits alone, engrossed in her game, when suddenly Tassi's leg is fractured. With urgency in his steps, Art rushes towards her, his heart pounding with worry. Without a moment's hesitation, he scoops her up in his arms and swiftly carries her to the hospital, his determination unwavering. Patrick also arrives, only to be met with angry shouts from both Art and Tassi, demanding that he leave. Now, Art steps in to assist Tassi in her recovery. However, the fracture has greatly impacted Tassi's ability to play as she did before, leaving her feeling deeply saddened. Gradually, Art and Tassi's paths intertwine. Once upon a time, as they sat side by side, Art proposed his idea of Tassi becoming his coach. During their conversation, Art pours out his heart and reveals his deep affection for her. They find themselves in the parking lot, their hearts pounding with anticipation. In a moment of raw emotion, their lips meet in a passionate kiss. A silent declaration of their love. Now we find ourselves in the present moment. Patrick's luck took a turn for the worse in the second round as he suffered a defeat. However, little did he know that fate had a different plan for him just a week prior. It was at that very hotel where Patrick's path crossed with Tassi's once again. As they step away from the crowd, he confides in her, expressing his desire for her to take on the role of his coach. According to Patrick, Art is contemplating retirement and seems to have lost his drive, while Patrick, on the other hand, still possesses the determination to continue. Upon hearing these words, Tassi reacts swiftly, delivering a resounding slap to his companion's cheek. With a firm tone, she asserts that he too is incapable of taking any action and advises him to return to the comfort of his own home. Curiosity piqued, Patrick inquires about the sudden disdain for Art and wonders if it stems from his desire to give up tennis. Patrick inquires if she arrived specifically for him, implying that he is aware of her presence. However, Tassi disregards all of these things as utter nonsense and proceeds to depart. As she's about to depart, Patrick slips Tassi a piece of paper with his contact information. In a sudden shift, the story transports us to the day prior to the climactic game, where powerful gusts sweep through the surroundings. Inside a steamy sauna room, Art and Patrick cross paths. Patrick inquires with Art about his lingering anger, stemming from Tassi's previous relationship with him. Art dismisses it as mere childhood memories. However, a sudden realization dawns upon Patrick. Once again, he and Tassi crossed paths. At this point in the story, Tassi's engagement to Art has already been arranged. They share a direct kiss, but Art is also aware of the situation. He is there at that time and he has seen them together. This is why Art is still angry with Patrick. To vent his anger, Art boasts that Patrick is still around and he has become quite the influential figure. But that night, Art tells Tassi that after the upcoming big tournament, he will retire, no matter how the tournament goes. Whatever the result may be, this situation has proven Patrick right about what he says regarding Art's retirement. Tassi is heartbroken to hear that Art doesn't want to play tennis anymore, as she is only with him because of his tennis. She makes it clear to him that she will leave him if he doesn't win the match the next day. Both Tassi and Art begin crying and kissing, but this affects Tassi more. The scene shifts to the final game where both players are fiercely competing. However, Tassi isn't watching anyone because at midnight she calls Patrick after Art has fallen asleep. She tells Patrick that he needs to lose the game the next day so that Art's confidence can be restored and he can perform well in major tournaments. Patrick outright refuses, saying he won't do it. As he is leaving, he eventually agrees to lose. Tassi gets out of the car to head back to her hotel, but stops and returns to Patrick. They kiss and have an intimate moment in the car. Tassi asks Patrick how she can trust that he will indeed lose the next day, and Patrick tells her not to trust him. The scene shifts back to the final game. Art is about to win, but Patrick intentionally makes a gesture to Art that he had made during their childhood, implying that he has spent the night with Tassi. Seeing this, Art loses his composure and lets Patrick tie the game so they can fight for the final point. The one who wins this last point will win the game. The match between Art and Patrick is intense, and Tassi is breathless. Just then, Art regains his passion for playing and wins the last point. With this, the movie ends here. If you're wondering about the movie's ending, the game reignites Art's passion for tennis and Patrick finds his friend again.